Welcome to the Real Voices podcast, where we explore the personal journeys of real estate professionals through their own unique challenges and successes. Real Voices is brought to you by Equitable Title and Escrow, providing a better approach to title and escrow through team support and innovative services. Welcome to another great episode. We're doing something a little bit different today. We have set up a little bit different across the states here with Jared Slater out of Florida. Jared, thank you so much for being on with us today. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to be with you guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. So I'm looking at your boat there, and we talked a little bit about it. You captained, is that correct?
Yeah, believe it or not, prior to getting into real estate, I was a boat captain for years down in Jupiter, Florida. So I ran a scuba diving charter. I was kind of an owner operator, something I'm very proud of. We were the number one undisputed scuba diving operation in Southeast Florida for about 6 years running. The boat's still going, so I sold the business, and they're still holding the title. They're doing well, but a lot of crazy stories with Mother Nature, for sure.
I bet. So talk to me. So, becoming a captain of a ship like that, is that a process you had to go through with training and all that, or you just buy a ship and it's yours? How did you go about that?
No, I mean, believe it or not, it's similar a little bit to becoming an agent, a real estate agent. I mean, there's a certification process that you have to go through. The schooling is intense. But then once you get out of the schooling, the real life application means nothing. It just doesn't. Just like the real estate industry, all the stuff right. They teach you is nothing like the real world. So same thing with becoming a licensed Coast Guard captain. But the thing that is different between boating and real estate industry is Mother Nature can hurt you, and where a client can hurt you, it's a different kind of hurt. So
I hear you.
But they all come with their pros and cons for sure. I mean, I love it. I'm a salty guy by nature. It's in my blood. In fact, I mean, even when I crossed over, the logo, it's stuck. Everybody knew me as Captain Slater. That hasn't gone away. So no, it was a good run. Now we had a good time. The only reason I left it, I started a family, and the risks of being on the water every day were starting to catch up. So my wife and I just decided, you know what? Maybe we hang this up for a while. Let's do the dad thing. Let's be present. Let's not get the better of us out there. And then maybe that's something we could revisit when my boy is a little bit older.
Awesome, man. Yeah. You talked about the risks out. I guess the rewards outran the risk there. Talk to me about the transition to real estate. Did you come right from there to real estate?
No, I did not. Believe it or not, that was one of my most successful career paths. However, it wasn't my first or my sole career. I'm an entertainer by trade, so a singer to be precise. So I was born and raised in Utah. I moved to Los Angeles to pursue the dream at age 18, fresh out of the gates of high school. Did a lot of Disney stops. Kind of dabbled a little bit in the MC realm, and then found myself on cruise ships. Okay. So I sang on ships for years, Royal Caribbean, Princess, you name it. I did it. And that's where the love of the ocean came in. So I'm on the ship, singing a couple nights a week in these different variety shows. But one of my favorite moments was sitting on the aft deck, deck 19, right after the clubs closed, probably around 12:30 p.m. at night. Or AM, I should say, and seeing the moonlight just bounce off of the wake as it was breaking. And I would just sit up there strumming my guitar going, man, because I was a mountain kid, and I just, there was this love affair with the ocean. And so while I was singing on these ships, I became obsessive with scuba diving. I just thought the ocean, there was just something to it that spoke to me. So that's kind of where the ocean kind of creeped into my life. But the captain thing came later. So once I finished cruise ships, I was out there for years. So I didn't have an apartment, didn't have money, or I had money saved up, meaning I didn't have furniture. I didn't have material stuff. So one of my dreams was on the ship is when I got off, I wanted to buy a rickety boat. And I wanted to be Captain Ron. Like literally, I wanted to live on a damn boat and just bounce up and down the coast of Florida. And that's what I wanted to do. So that's what I did. So I found this rinkety 38-foot Corinthian Chris Craft for $23,000 that some dude was trying to unload. The engines barely ran, needed a lot of work, but that was it, man. I was like, yep, I'll take it, bought it and fixed it up and learned the hard way boats will humble you real fast. And they tell you the definition of boat, B-O-A-T, is break out another 1,000. And that's true. It's very true. But I learned a lot. It was the best teacher because at first I thought it was a toy. So I wanted to take it out all the time. But then when you break the toy that's actually your house, you have nowhere to live. So then I learned to respect the toy and learn how to be. I became a mechanic. I became good with fiberglass work. I became good with my hands, and that created discipline. So then that was a really cool thing because that discipline is what has propelled me in other career paths, and even including real estate, because you can't always rely on someone else to do the work. The person that you need to rely on is you.
Right.
If you don't get out of bed in the morning and go after it, you ain't going to bear the fruits of your labor. It's just the way it is. The same with captaining. You know, if your engine breaks, you can't rely on a mechanic being available to come fix it for you. You better learn how to fix it. And if you're out there on the ocean, you know, you're going to be in a world of hurt unless you don't fix it.
Right.
So, so that was kind of a cool thing. So then, making a long story short, the boat behind me, I met a girl, as the story always goes. There's always a girl somewhere. So we crossed paths. And I convinced her somehow that living on a boat was awesome. So her and I, we got a rescue dog. I had the girl, I had the dog, and we're living on the boat. And we were sitting in a marina down in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. And in that marina, this boat behind me was sitting there just rotting in a slip. And I kept the owner of that boat would come over every day, and he would just tinker with the engine. And after getting to talk to him, he was a helicopter engineer. So he was a very smart guy, and I noticed how meticulous the engine was. The exterior was junk, but it was such a nice engine. The guts were good, the bones were good, as they say in real estate. And so every day I would joke with him and say, "Hey, when you're ready to sell that boat, let me know." And every day I would tell him that. Then one day he came over, he's like, "Hey man, were you serious about buying this boat?" And he's like, "Absolutely. Like, that would make an amazing scuba diving charter. Like I could turn that thing to a charter tomorrow." And he's like, "Well, my wife is ticked off of me for always being down here and spending money on this engine." So he threw out a number. I said yes. I bought the boat, got my captain certification, so I was official. And you know, the story goes, Kyle Army Charters was born. So so that's how that kind of came in. But entertainment was always kind of my strong suit. So real estate creeped in. As I was traveling all over the country singing. After the cruise ship thing happened, after I started this charter, I got recruited by a Frankie Valli tribute show in Florida. So I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. I love Frankie Valli music. We called it the condo circuit. So in Florida, which is very similar to Arizona, everybody knows that the 55 and older communities, they all come with their clubhouse. They all come with their theater. The HOA money pays for entertainment. So what we made a living bouncing around to all of the retirement communities in the state of Florida. And we were making a killing. We were loving it. We got paid better doing that than I did on cruise ships, than I did on some of the most popular things I've ever done, just going into grandma's backyard and singing Frankie Valli tunes.
That's awesome.
So what I started to realize is after the show, during those meet and greets, is a lot of these folks had homes in New York or New Jersey or in Ohio, and they were unloading them so they could come down to Florida permanently. They were snowbirds, but they wanted to make the full-time transition. And so I started to think, it's like, oh my gosh, there's such an enormous opportunity here to be a referral agent. Like I'm pretty good with real estate. You know, I come from a family of contractors, so I understood that world. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to get my ticket and I'm just going to refer all this out. I'm going to meet, Sue after the show, and I'm going to hear her story, and then I'm going to find her a good agent that I trust and make mailbox money. Yeah. So that's what I was doing. So then after we decided to transition off the boat and sell that business for mostly liability reasons, we just wanted to be a little safer with my decisions. I was no longer married to the coastline, but I was still singing in those Frankie Valli shows. And Lakeland, where I'm now, every single show I did was 3 hours or less. In Jupiter, some were 6, some were 7, some were 8. So it's like, listen, babe, like, let's unload the business. Our house has got a ridiculous amount of equity in it. Let's flip that. Let's go to Central Florida where the cost of living is cheaper. Let's put up shop and let's go all in on this Frankie Valli thing and just get mailbox money for referrals. That's what we were doing. So we came to Lakeland, and then literally 6 months after we landed here, got settled. I was killing it. COVID happened. So wiped out, 65 shows gone in I'm telling you, 1 hour, just disappeared, changed my life. I mean, I didn't know what to do. I turned to my wife, says, babe, we just unloaded everything. We dumped the savings into this house and this new studio so we could rehearse. And I have no career path here. I don't know. I can't go sing to make money. And singing was giving me the referrals because that's how I was meeting people. What the heck am I going to do now? And I swear to you, my wife looked me dead in the eye and she said, you better buck up. You better buck up right now because you're a full-time real estate agent. That's what you are. And she told me straight up, she's like, I don't care about referrals anymore. You're a full-time agent. And so I made the transition. And the transition was tough. This is a blood sport in real estate. It is. It's a different animal. It's far different than anything I've ever bitten off. And that first year was rough. I mean, because not only was I dealing with a pandemic and the industry as a whole was kind of turned upside down, but I was kind of a fish out of water, no pun intended. I mean, I didn't really have my ground and didn't know where to lean. And then something really cool happened to where I signed up with a brokerage who I think is just fantastic. So I'm with HomeSmart, and they've got these partner affiliate. Every Monday, they'll throw us some partner affiliates on there so you can learn. They call it Ask the Experts. And so I just started consuming information, just hoping that something was going to stick. And that's the problem with new agents. So if you're new agent out there, you're going to relate to this. You tend to overconsume the first 2 years, thinking that there's going to be some magical switch that's going to instantly make you successful. So you just consume everything and you buy all the software and you buy all the fancy CRMs and you just grab everything thinking, oh, this is going to be the one. This is going to give me the edge. But what you're not doing is you're not acting. You're not taking action. So you think you are, because you're putting energy into yourself,
you're moving,
but you're not walking out the door. You're not meeting people. You're not taking action. And that's what clicked with me with one of the partner affiliates, Agent by Design. If you guys have a chance to check these guys out, you should. Really cool guy by the name of Michael Zobek runs it. And he and I just hit it off because he said something to me in that Ask the Experts that kind of resonated. It's like, listen, man, you got to niche down, because I was kind of telling my stories like, you seem like a guy that's got a lot of ambition, but you're all over the place, dude. Mm-hmm. Like you're over here and you're over here and you're trying to do this. You got to shrink your world and you've got to niche down and
Can
get
we talk
really
about that
good.
for a moment? Let's chat about that because I talk about the importance of niching, and often especially newer agents, they get nervous by that because they feel like they're going to miss out on all these other things. How did you feel about that when you first heard it? Did it resonate with you, or did you have to?
It insulted me. It resonated, but insulted me at first. Okay. It did. I mean, I'll be honest. Listen, I'm an entertainer. I'm not shy. Entertainers have egos. He crushed my ego a little bit because I had all these big visions, and he's like, "Those are great later. Right now, you just got to run in one lane and run really well on that lane. And what lane that is, it's up to you. You've got to answer that question." And so I found that my lane was kind of the underdog, the first-time homebuyer niche.
Okay.
And here's why. Because when I was a first-time homebuyer, prior to real estate, prior to all this stuff, when I bought my first home, there was no education out there in the area, and there wasn't a lot of agents and or lenders that were willing to dedicate time to me to teach me. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of had to figure it out myself. I was turned down by 4 lenders. Like just cold turn down. I made all the mistakes, used my own bank, all the ones you're not supposed to do. I did them all. I was ghosted by 5 agents because, the way the industry works now, unfortunately, I think is you need to be a now buyer to get the attention of the agent. Mm-hmm. So real estate used to be a service industry. Now it's so sales heavy that they've forgotten what the service is. Not all, there's some good agents out there, but unfortunately a lot of brokerages focus too much on the sale and not the service part. So I wasn't being served as a consumer. I had all the qualifications. I just didn't know how to put it together. So it took me 2 years to buy my first home, which really should only took me 6 months. I mean, so because of that chip on my shoulder, from that experience, I tend to gravitate towards that young, up and coming family that's just trying to get it started. You know what I mean? And they don't know where to turn. So where I'm going with this is my niche has become educating first-time home buyers.
Okay.
So part of the education process is running different advertisements to attract those buyers, but really offering service. Like there's no hook, there's no catch, there's no gimmick in it. There's no what's in it for me. It's literally lead by service. And I'm telling you, man, when I finally figured that out, the leads just started coming to me. I didn't chase them anymore. It was genuine. It was come from a good place, truly trying to help somebody, and it was reciprocated. And then in return, I was being helped myself.
So would you help me for a minute on that one? Because I totally agree with you on that. So one of the things I'm trying, again, helping newer agents or even seasoned agents who may not resonate with. How did you embrace it? What did you do to actually say, you know what, I'm going to lay aside my ego and I'm just going to do this. I'm going to see how this works. It
was, I don't want to use the word depression because for the people that depression is real. I don't want to, downplay that, but I went through kind of my own mourning period. You got to remember, I'm in my mid 40s. My entire life, I was an entertainer. I had a stage. That's what I did. And it was taken from me. I didn't choose to walk away. It was taken. And so there was a loss and a mental, just kind of I had to kind of recharge everything and relearn everything. And so I started off by focusing, and ironically, because of COVID, it kind of put the emphasis on it. I focused on health. Okay, you know what? I'm not right. I didn't feel right. I didn't want to get up in the morning, but I needed to supercharge it. So I started with fitness. Okay. So every morning it says, you know what? I'm going to spend 15 minutes on fitness on myself. And I'm just going to work on physically getting myself back together. But what happened is that by doing it every morning, I created a routine. Routine is everything, because when you are in a routine, the day you get out of it, you don't know, you freak out and you want to go back to it. And that's what started happening to me is I had to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, because if I didn't, I was off routine. And so I was up, and now that I'm up, I wanted to do something. And because when you're physically active in the morning, you get all the adrenaline rolling. And so now you're ready to go. So by 7 o'clock, when people are still sleeping, I wanted to work on my business. And so then I started creating content and more content, and then started creating social media. Then I started realizing, listen, man, you've got a cool talent for entertainment that you can put into social media. You can still entertain, dude. Like, it's not dead. It's not gone. It's just going to be on a different stage.
How have you gone about doing that? Okay. Talk to me about that. What did you?
Well, and again, I've got to give props to, again, going back to Agent by Design and Michael, because I signed up for one of his products that he offered. And with it, he and I just hit it off. And so I asked him a lot of questions, and he's always giving me good feedback. And so he kind of helped me kind of figure out a YouTube niche, like how to attract first-time home buyers and make YouTube content. And then TikTok kind of started happening, and then Instagram. And so now I've got platforms where I can speak to people, but it was all driven from service. It has to be authentic. It has to come from a good place. Let's be honest, man, we are inundated with ads and content. We can read BS. Right. All of us can. Right. So if it's not real, people know. They can sniff it out. But I genuinely wanted to help. And then that's when everything's really started going, because now I was disciplined. I was getting my butt up in the morning. I was creating a good, authentic service, and I was getting results. So then, and that's kind of where I finally figured it out. But to your point, to the new agents, it all starts with getting out of bed, man. Like you got to get up, and you've got to get going. As real estate agents, we have the luxury of setting our own schedule, but that can also be to your detriment. Yep. If you sleep in till 10 or 11 every morning, you're going to miss 3-4 solid hours of awesome lead generation. Because once everybody else is up, you need to be on the phones talking to people. Right. But before they get up, that's when you need to handle your business. You know what I mean? Get yourself in check. I'm a to-do list guy by trade. Every morning I make to-do lists.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, there's nothing more satisfying than putting a little X on that box, man. Right. It feels good.
One of my coaches started talking about, when I first jumped in, talking about that, just a little to-do list and how it feels when you just highlight that off, right? Even if it's simple things.
Yep.
Make a phone call to the doctor, whatever.
Make your bed. I'm telling you, yes. And that came from my mom. Like, big shout out to my mom. She every morning she would beat me up about that, and I never really understood what she was trying to do until I became a parent. But and we had a conversation about this just the other day, actually over Thanksgiving. And she said, it had nothing to do with it keeping your room clean. What it had to do with is even if you had a bad day, even if your day just was crap, if you came home and your bed was made, you still did something with your day. You still had an accomplishment, and that's what it was about. It was a win. Like your bed is made, it's a win. And
we got to find those wins.
Well, it's mental, like not just real estate, but every successful person will tell you, once you master the mind, you can achieve success. You're in your own way. There's no such thing as competition. You're your own competition. You are.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
That's the way it is.
Awesome. Well, talk to me a little bit. Utah, I spent a little bit of time in my life there too. I love the scenery. It's just a beautiful place. Talk to me about your upbringing. When you're, a little kid running in the mountains and doing your thing there, who was your
I've got an 8-year-old now. And he's got a great life, man. That kid is not hurting at all. However, there's a piece of me that just kind of mourns for the fact that he just didn't have opportunities that I have as a kid. I was telling you before we started this, my older brother and I, at Friday afternoon, man, like clockwork. We lived in Brigham City, Utah, which was a valley just literally on the basin of the Wasatch Front. Friday afternoon, would come home, say what up to mom, and say, we'll see you Sunday morning. And we would take off in the mountains with our backpacks. And that's what we did. And we would go hiking and we just explored and walked up creeks and stuff like that. And we just lived. I mean, you can't do that nowadays. Right. There's too many variables. There's too much weirdness in the world, right. And it just doesn't work that way. But it was great. I mean, it's a beautiful state. The people are great. And from what I see from the last market reports, that state is booming. I mean,
I always say, man, if you don't keep moving in Utah, you will be run over. It's go for sure. So when you're a little kid and you're making your decisions, who did you look up to for guidance? What was that? What was your role models like?
Well, my dad was my hero. I just always looked up to him. My mother was my rock. So she was kind of my anchor. But as far as who gave me the biggest lessons, that was my grandpa. World War II vet, still alive today, 95 years young and just awesome. But he used to kind of beat into me and my brother because we were the two last Slaters. So his last name was hanging on the two of us. And his legacy was a big deal to him, but it wasn't an ego legacy. It was, he used to tell us all the time, remember who you are and who you represent. What we were saying is, you're carrying my last name, you carry it right. And that generation was just cut different, man. And he used to tell us all the time, Slaters never quit. Do not ever quit. Do not ever give up. I don't care how far you're behind. I don't care how much you're getting beat down. You finish the job. You finish the task. And that one, more than any other lesson in my entire life, I've carried through. The other one that he used to tell us all the time, and I wish I could show it to you, but it's hanging on my wall here. But it's, I'll just read it verbatim. It's life is 10% what happens and 90% what you do next. He used to tell us all the time, man, I don't care what happens. What are you going to do about it? Well, what's next? And I go back to COVID. I had every reason to be ticked off about losing 65 shows in a career. Absolutely. But you know what? What are you going to do next, dude? Like, yeah, it happened. What are you going to do next? And that's the thing with excuses. And I tell my clients this all the time, when I get time, because real estate, man, there's a lot of variables. Things happen.
Right.
Every single excuse that you make in your life is 100% justified. And I tell them this, absolutely. It is validated. If that's the way you feel, there is nothing wrong with you feeling that way. But here's the thing. An excuse never, ever, ever will produce a result, period. You show me one time that your excuse produced the result that you wanted. It never will. So you can just have that moment, have your grief, you're ticked off, be sad. I don't care what it is, but then get up and go do what's next.
I love that. Sometimes people are looking for an excuse. Why did you do that? I'm like, I just did it. I accept it. It is what it is. Let's move forward. There's no, there's no need to have an excuse. It happened, right.
But I think in society, sometimes we look down on excuses, and they're only negative if you live in it. But I think an excuse is part of the growth process to get to the next. You have to live that excuse to get it out of you. If you just kind of keep burying it, live it, man. Like live that moment. Like I said, I mean, I was really ticked off. I mean, I'm still ticked off. I mean, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. My story is probably very minimal to some of the other people with COVID stories. I mean, that who saw that coming? Nobody did.
Very true. So, talk to me about, I mean, you talked a little about the struggles you've overcome. What is something that you feel like you're most proud of that you've accomplished, or just in general, what are you most proud of?
Oh, being a dad by far. There's no question. There is nothing. There's no greater thing that I've ever done in my life than be a father. That boat, you would think would have been, because it was such a success story. I mean, I was born and raised in Utah. I had no business being on the ocean, and here I was going toe to toe with some of the best captains in Southeast Florida, and I was winning. I was taking them to task, and so you'd think that naturally that would be success, but success to me is by whoever has the most stories. It's not money. It's whoever has the most stories at the end. That's my gauge of success. Mm-hmm. And you don't get better. The best stories are parent stories. They're the best. I mean, the joy a child can bring, the pain, the frustration, the anger. I mean, a child brings it all out. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing that I love more than my time with my little dude. And every year I say, this is the best year ever. And then next year, this is the best year ever. But he's a cool dude. He's way cooler than his dad. He's got the best parts of me and his mom kind of all into one, which is kind of scary.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Thank you I appreciate that. Appreciate you sharing that. Do you get to read much? Do you get on Audible?
Yeah. So, I'm big into video editing. So naturally, if I would choose to watch something or read it, I'll watch it. So I tend to so a lot of, self-motivational videos, stuff like that I'm really into.
Okay. Tell me something that, it could be, I guess, a movie. You're into that. A book or a movie, an idea that you found in there that really just touched you and maybe changed the way you thought about things. Is there something?
It's going to be cliche, and I know a lot of people think it and they don't want to say it, but Star Wars, man.
Okay. You're the first person I've had on here say that. So roll with it.
Here's why. Star Wars crosses multiple generations. Mm-hmm. I remember to this day, 2T, the big laser disc Dad brought home, the original, the Hope, a New Hope. I remember that to this day. I was 7 years old, sat down with Dad. He put the laser disc in the big machine and we watched it, and I was blown away. I was like, what just happened? I cannot believe this. And everybody had the sticks and the laser swords and whatever. We make the sounds, and that was my upbringing. And then, the second and the third one came out. And then obviously they released the prequels, but it never really resonated to me how awesome that story was and how much that connected you until I was a dad, until I introduced it to my son. So now you have 3 generations that have lived the same stories, but it's kind of a unifier. So when we get together, we never have to worry, because when you haven't seen dad or mom, there's always kind of maybe that weird awkward. It doesn't exist because we just go to Star Wars. Like, hey man, did you hear the Kenobi series is coming out? And we have something to talk about. And then my 8-year-old, he knows more about Star Wars than we ever did, because he's watched the Rebels series and he's watched them all, and he'll tell us the backstories, and it's a cool thing. But the coolest moment I had in Star Wars was taking him to Disney World and doing the Millennium Falcon ride and doing all that with them. Like, cause then it was real, and just to see his face light up. And I think I enjoyed it more than him, to be honest. But yeah, dude, it's weird because it's not a cliche line from a movie. It's not an inspirational. It's just movies like entertainment, are a true escape. And we have gotten away from escape in society. Social media and technology is such a plus, but it's also such a deterrent. Because there's so much information available, we now find more reasons to escape from connecting with each other, Right. And that's why I appreciate what Star Wars does in my household, because I'm able to talk to my dad about it and I'm able to talk to my son about it, and we all love it the same.
Makes sense. So you seem like a guy who's into, you're relational, you like people, you enjoy being with people. So how do you translate that over to your service to your individual customers? Like, what do they get from you they wouldn't get from, say, Joe Blow?
Oh man, I'll tick off some people listening. And I don't mean this. I really don't mean it as a blow, but I'm the anti-agent, and I tell them that all the time. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm the source of the source. I'm going to give you all the real information. And at the end of it, if you choose me, awesome. And if you don't, I'm going to be the guy cheering you on. And my feelings won't be hurt by it. They really won't, because I think everybody deserves to own a home. They do. That is a right that everybody should have, that feeling, because what home ownership can do, not just financially, but for your family, it is a game changer. Like I said, that house in Jupiter, after owning it for 2 years, I flipped it for $150,000. I've never in my life had that kind of money. Right. Think about that. I mean, that changed everything, because not only did we now have a savings, but we can invest in the next house. And it just, once you understand, what to do with money, it changes the way you think. It changes the way you save. And I think everybody deserves that. Everybody.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that perspective. If I were to chat with your wife and your son and just be like, hey, what's dad always harping on? Like, what would they say? Something that you try and drill into your family.
Slater's never quit. I didn't give that up. That was drilled into me by Grandpa. Grandpa's still alive. That's still a big deal to him. My middle name is Russell. My dad's middle name is Russell. My grandpa's middle name is Russell. My son's middle name is Russell. So he is an extension of all of us. So I tell him the same thing. Remember who you are, who you represent. Slater's never quit. Those non-negotiable. He's playing on a soccer team right now. His soccer team sucks. I mean, they're terrible, terrible.
Don't pass this out to the parents.
Yeah, the coaching is bad, and all of it's. We go. I mean, it's 17-0 before the first half is over. You can just feel the energy just get sucked out of the room. And then at that point, I don't care who you are. You don't want to keep going after that. But I tell my son, his name is Finn, Fin, like a shark fin. Mm-hmm. He was born on Ocean's Day. But I tell him all the time, it's like, man, don't you dare quit. You keep going. And I'm the crazy dad on the sideline, just harping on him. Just keep going all the way to the end. Because I'm telling you, man, if you learn how to keep going when it stinks, there's no limitations to what you can accomplish. None. It's easy to keep going when things are great. It's easy. But when your back's up against the wall, that's when you really test character and what's your metal? What are you made out of?
Yeah, I like that. Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. That's kind of our time, but it's been wonderful chatting with you and getting to know you a little bit more. Where can the people find you at? Where can we locate you and get a hold of you so we can do business with you?
Heck yeah. Go to Captain Slater. Just go on Facebook. Find me there. CAPTSL, 8, letter R. Or just look for this crazy fancy logo and you'll find me. Captain Slater Property Sales. Love to find you. And like I said, I'm a great source of the source. If you want real, honest information, I'm your guy. And if I'm not the person at the end of the day that ends up helping you out, I will find you somebody that will fit your personality for sure.
Awesome. How about a phone number?
Oh, on a phone number? Let's do some digits. I love it. 863-969-2449. That's how you get me.
Awesome. Hey, appreciate your time. Thanks so much. Mr. Slater, Captain Slater, I should say.
Yeah, come see me in Florida, my friend.